All right, you guys, welcome back, fellow escapees. All right, so in today's video, I want to talk about a lady named Diane Evans. She is a former HR executive, and she was laid off from her $200,000 a year job, and she cannot find work. It has been over 1 year, and the only way she was able to get the job she has now is through her son's friend told her about a job at an event planning or like a restaurant or something, or an event planning facility, something of that nature. Told her about the job, but the job was entry-level job as a bathroom attendant, making $16 an hour. So Diane went from making $100 an hour to making $16 an hour. She says she applied everywhere. It's been 1 year and she has not been able to find any work. So you would think someone who is in HR, someone who does the hiring, firing, or recruiting for organizations would have the skill set and would have the knowledge of how to navigate this job market. But it just goes to show you, even HR executives, former CEOs, former executives of companies, they're even having a hard time finding work. And these are highly educated professionals, as we know. That's how they're able to get their executive level roles. And they are struggling right now in today's job market. Now, some people in the comment section of the video, when I saw it, they weren't very friendly and nice to Miss Diane, because they were saying like now she feels what we were going through as, regular employees trying to find work, and how we were treated out in the workforce in the market when we were trying to find work. So it's kind of like payback or karma to an HR executive. But I don't feel that way. I feel like, everyone, until they can work for themselves, or until they can, have enough money saved up where they don't have to work again for someone else, everyone needs pretty much some type of income coming in. So, we don't want to start bashing people because of, they fell on hard times in their life. We don't want to do that, because karma is a B. Karma, what comes around goes around. So we don't want to put that negative energy out there on other people, because we don't want that negative energy coming back towards us. So anyway, I just wanted to talk about Miss Diane, because another thing is she lives in New York City. So a lot of people are like, well, if she make $200,000 a year, oh my God, she probably saved a lot of money. What's the problem? She can weather this storm until this, whatever's going on with our economy blows over. So she should be fine. But Miss Diane, I don't know how long she was making this money, but she has already blown through whatever she has saved up. She is 59 years old, so she's considered, a little bit older. And we all know when you try to re-enter the workforce as a senior or a little bit older person, you have a lot of age discrimination. So she is probably 60 years old by the time I'm making this video. So, I don't know what her future is going to hold for her. I definitely think she's going to find probably a better paying job than a $16 an hour job once the market clears up a little bit and the economy kind of stabilizes again. But I definitely don't know if she'll ever get back to that $200,000 a year job. So this just goes to show you that, why I created this channel. This just goes back to show you what I've been trying to say to people all these years. Like, it doesn't matter who you work for. It doesn't matter how good you are at your job. If you don't own the company, you are at risk of the company one day taking that job from you. And you have to go into your work understanding that this job could end any day, and it's going to blindside you. You're not even gonna know when it's coming. Right now, as of me making this video, we're dealing with the Department of Education being dismantled by Elon Musk and President Trump administration. So even federal workers who, usually if you got a federal job, you were pretty much most federal workers that I've ever known in my life growing up always felt safe, like they had a career. As long as they went and did their job right, they had a career for life. They could stay there until retirement pretty much, or, put in a good 20, 25 years, and then maybe they got something happen with the job, but they were able to go get another federal job or another great paying job. Well, we're now seeing like not even the federal workers are safe. Veterans are not even safe right now. There was a veteran on one of the news channels that I just watched recently, and he fought for our country. He was injured in war, at war, and he gave his time, his energy for our country. He went into to work for I believe it was the Department of Education, and he lost his job. And even a veteran's not safe, and we should be protecting our veterans at all costs, especially our disabled veterans at all costs, and protecting their job at all costs, as long as, of course, they're doing what they're supposed to do. So on that news show, the reporter was able to get a hold of his performance review, and this veteran had a stellar performance review. Like, they said amazing things about him. But when they laid him off, the reason they put it was, oh, it was his performance. But a lot of people got that same letter, and it was just a letter that was going out to the federal workers in order so that they could be fired from their job, not necessarily that they really all did something. So we know, as of today, of me uploading this video, making this video, as of now, 2,200 federal workers are being laid off. The Department of Education is getting cut in half. So federal workers are not even safe. And they're supposed to be and the veterans, and they're supposed to be some of the most protected classes in this country of employees, and they are even struggling right now, or uncertain about their future. So if you are you work in the private sector, or you work in a public sector, whatever job you have to understand that these jobs care nothing about you. When I was looking at how much the Department of Education was saving by laying off these 2,200 workers, or 2,000 or 2,200 workers, I was like, I just did a rough estimate based off of some information I have on their salary range. And of course, it's going to fluctuate depending on if they were manager levels or, regular staff. But I calculated they were making anywhere from 60,000 to 100, maybe 50,000 a year in salary. So on average, I just put about 80,000 a year per employee, and I came up with $175 million, $200 million. And I was like, we're destroying the Department of Education and taking resources from all these schools around the country, and from all these Pell Grants, and from all these college students. We're going to take all these resources, after school program. We're going to be taking away programs for the disabled students in public school system. We're going to do all of that just to save $175 million, $200 million. We definitely have that much money. Elon Musk and Donald Trump individually have that much money. If they really cared about this country, they could pay that. You know how you give to a charity and you write it off or whatever? They could cover those salaries if they choose to, for those people. So that just kind of goes to show you that they don't want to save our country. Not saying they don't want to save our country. They might be trying to save it in their own way, or the way that they think is best. But if you really wanted to help out, and you have all that money, you would help pay for these employees instead of laying them all off, especially our veterans. But going back to Miss Diane, I just want to say, she's not safe. The federal workers aren't safe. You guys are not safe. And that's what I created this channel, because you guys have to start coming up with a plan that if these jobs that you're working in do not work out, what is going to be your backup plan? You can't assume that you're going to go in there and work. Like, if you watch my video, Why I Quit Corporate America, I talk about it. It didn't matter how hard I worked. It didn't matter that I was a good stellar employee with good reviews. That there was a cap on how much income I could make, first of all. And then they control my life and my time. And then they can lay me off whenever they choose to. I got laid off for going to a funeral at one place I worked at. Couldn't even go to a funeral without them for 2 days without them having an issue and not having a job when I got back. So I just don't know how to stress enough how important it is for people to start waking up and to start saying, hey, we're not safe out here. We have no job security anymore. The economy is shifting. The job market is shifting. The technology is shifting. And this is going to be a turn in our century where we're no longer going to be able to rely on these companies to take care of us as far as our income goes. We're going to have to figure out a way to take care of ourselves just in case this income is eliminated. If you look at statistically why most people go homeless. You see the drugs, you see the alcohol, and you judge the homeless people. Some of you guys out there judge the homeless people. Oh, you're just an alcoholic. You're just a wino. And you're just a druggie. You know, I'm not going to give you $1 when you ask me for $1. I'm not going to help you because, you know, you need to go get a job. You need to go get your life together. You know, you hear people saying that to the homeless people, not knowing that they could be Miss Diane, and Miss Diane can, and you know, they're 59 and a half. They've been laid off from a job and they cannot no longer find work. They've applied everywhere. They applied to Target, Starbucks, McDonald's won't hire them. And it may not be because these companies don't want to hire them. They may already be fully staffed. I knew there was a problem in our economy when I looked on Amazon and I could not find one open position in the warehouse. Amazon, since the time I was in the early 2000s, all the way up to 2023, almost 2022, had trouble filling up their warehouses with employees, meaning people, the turnover rate is so high at Amazon. They always were hiring. Everyone knows if you can't find a job, UPS, FedEx, and Amazon always got an opening. Just go apply. You may not last more than 6 months, but you know, that's a little filler job for you. Everyone knew that. When I went on their website and I could barely find one opening, or like they'll have an opening, let's just say you look on their website, instead of them having 1,000 openings, they'll have like 20 openings, and one will be in New York, one will be in Florida, one would be in Georgia or whatever. But it wasn't like one city or state had all the openings. It was like if you were looking for a job, you would have had to apply and possibly move out of your state to go to another state to get this job. It was hardly no jobs. Amazon is filled. Amazon has no openings. I mean, they may have openings on a IT level or the manager executive levels. I'm not talking about those kind of jobs that you have to be highly qualified and skilled for. I'm talking about Amazon doesn't have the entry level jobs anymore. Like, you can't even find, and I'm not saying it's not going to open up by the time you find this video, because I don't know when you'll see this video, how many years down the road. But as of me making this right now, most states you cannot find a job at UPS, FedEx, and Amazon. And those were the jobs a lot of people didn't want. They have a high turnover rate. They can't keep employees. Their warehouses, I heard, are hard to work in because, you know, of course, they're high volume. There's packages coming in 24 hours a day, every second of the minute. They work you like a robot, people say. Sorry, I have bad allergies. I have a little doggy in here. And we love the dog, but it causes my allergies to flare up. I mean, you know, we're not going to get rid of the dog. So, and sometimes my allergy medicine wears off. It doesn't last as long. But anyway, so I get the sniffles. But what I'm trying to say is, you know, there's a problem, right? When you can't even find those jobs. So when you say, well, why don't these people go and find a job? Why don't the homeless man on the street go and find a job? They can't find work. I can't stress that enough. So when you start thinking that you're safe in your job and, oh, you know, I got a job, I got a great paying job, I'm in IT. We see what's going on with the IT workers right now. I'm in I work for the federal government. We see what's going on right now with the federal government. They can take your job from you anytime. So going back to the homeless people and Diane and her story is, once it happens and you start losing your home, you can't get back on your feet. You have no address to put on your application sometimes. You have no phone anymore so people can call you for a job. When this stuff starts to happen to you, then it causes you to spiral and get down and hit rock bottom. So then a lot of people you see who are homeless, in order to deal with the homelessness, the fact that they're hungry, the fact that they have nowhere to go during the winter months and the summer months, and they're not treated the same in society, they end up seeking out the drugs and alcohol to cope, to deal with the pain and the hunger pains and the loneliness and the things that they're going through. So they usually get on the drugs out there. A lot of times when you talk to them, they're not even on drugs when they get out there, but they eventually go to drugs and alcohol as they're out on the streets because of what they're going through. And so show compassion if you can to anyone. Don't give them all your money and everything, because it is a lot of them out there begging right now. But show compassion when you're seeing someone hit rock bottom. Stop like assuming that they're there because they did something or something, you know, like they're on drugs and alcohol. Stop assuming that. Like, that's not what happened. The way the people in the United States of America have become homeless is because after the Great Depression, they couldn't recover. After factories and coal mines closed down, you know, in the 60s and 70s, and then the 40s and 50s, like in the 80s, after certain factories and jobs were eliminated from this country and sent overseas, well, there was these people, you know, yeah, new jobs open up in other fields, but, you know, there's things that are going on in these people's life. If you're already 60, 70 years old, just an example, 50, whatever, and you lose that job, and you lose and then the job falsely fires you and won't give you your unemployment, because that's happened to me. I talked about that in my videos. That's happened to people I know. When they don't give you your unemployment, when they try to deny you benefits, that stuff sets you back and you can't get back on your feet. And everyone doesn't have all these family members. Usually their family members are just as poor as they are, or working class people as they are. So, or their family members pass away over time. And so everybody doesn't have all these family members they can go to for 10, 20 years. And sometimes if you cannot find a job or help, you are poor for the rest of your life. You're stuck in a situation for the rest of your life. So what you guys need to start doing is y'all have to start investing in saving. Y'all have to start building something outside of work for yourself, something on the side. I don't care how small it is. If it brings you in a couple of $100 a week, a couple of $100 a month, just building something on the side for yourself. Reducing your expenses. Just because you gotta get a paycheck and then you have a credit cards and you have money in the bank, you think you can go out and start buying all these clothes, buying all these toys, buying all this stuff at the stores and the malls, and buying yourself, you know, running up your credit cards because you're gonna pay it off on the next couple of checks. Just because the society gives it to you doesn't mean you're supposed to be using it. You just have to turn around and say, no, I don't want any more of your credit cards. Bank, keep it, because I know what this is going to do to my life. Psychologically, I am going to spend more money than I have. I am going to get caught up in high interest rate, and I'm going to stay in debt longer. And instead of falling for that and keep falling to these debt traps, buying cars, buying clothes, buying vacations, all this stuff that you really can't afford, look at the cash you actually earn. That's your real money. It's the cash that, you know, when you cash your check and what's in your bank account, that's your money. That's the money you need to live within and stay within. And then you need to look back at like our ancestors and our elderlies and say, okay, even though stuff had, you know, I was going to say the curse word, shit hits the fan. Even though it hasn't hit the fan yet, start living like it's about to hit the fan. If you're the lucky one, it doesn't hit you, great, you're lucky. But let me tell you, there's nothing worse than going from a $200,000 a year job to a $16 an hour job in New York City. And that is what happened to Diane. There's hardly no way to survive on your own on $16 an hour in New York City. That's before they take federal tax. That's before they take state tax. That's before they take Medicaid or Medicare. And that's before they take your Social Security out. So that $16 an hour just dropped down to $12 an hour, maybe 11. And there is no way for you to live in New York on that kind of money. And that is where she lives. And so there's nothing worse than aging and then having to turn around and go have 70, 80% of your income taken from you and never being able to find a job paying that much again. Now, I'm not saying she's never going to be able to find a job paying that much again, but we don't know what's about to happen to her. She couldn't maybe never go back into the workforce at that level because now she's of a certain age where they're going to start discriminating against her. And it's illegal for them to do that, but it's happening. It's already been proven that it's happening. So my passion for this channel is to get you guys to start waking up today. I don't want to see people on TikTok keep crying about they lost their job. They weren't prepared for this. They didn't know this was coming. This was going to happen to them. Well, you do know. You do know. Eventually, you have to take responsibility for yourself. You can't keep blaming the government. You have people like Elon Musk and Donald Trump, billionaires, and halfway worth $1 trillion, Elon Musk, and you have them. And as far as I know, neither one of them grew up in extreme poverty. They grew up upper middle class to affluent lifestyles. So they never had their lights turned off. They never had to go a day or so without food in their stomachs. They never had to live in areas where it's high crime and violence. So they have no understanding or comprehension of what the average American person has to suffer through. When they laid those federal workers off, that they have no idea how devastating that is to those federal workers. Like, they have no idea the impact and the setback that causes that person's life. You know? They can never relate to your struggles. They're not going to ever be able to relate to your struggles. So we have billionaires and trillionaires making the decision for the average working American people. And they don't care about you. If you voted for them or not. I don't really care if you voted for them or not. And I don't want to hear in the comment section, well, we should have voted this way. I don't care, because once I've seen both sides mess this country up and affect the people in this country with no regards to what the average person in this country is really going through. Y'all have all these people in these political positions that are not poor working class American people with 2 to 3 jobs and kids to take care of and elderly parents to take care of. These people have maids and chefs and personal drivers. And then you think that they're going to make laws and things to help you out and help you get rich. No. So what I would love to hear from you guys, if y'all drop a comment below, is let me know what you're going to do differently this year. I would love to hear that you have, that you gave up. Maybe you stopped spending. We're on a stop spending spree for these next couple of years, because we are no longer gonna be consumers until our own situations improve. When our situations improve, we have our own business going, we have plenty of money in the bank, we could work for somebody or not work for somebody. It's an option for us. When we're at that point, then we'll come back and spend a little bit and enjoy our life. But when we're working class Americans, not knowing if we're gonna have a job by tomorrow, we can be fired any moment, we're not gonna get out here. We're going on a no spending challenge. And we're gonna send a message to this presidency and these super out of touch companies that own these companies that are laying people off when they have plenty of money. They do not have to lay people off. I can tell you that right now. There's a lot of companies like Tesla, Google, they do not have to lay people off. The CEO has enough money to keep them afloat. The CEO has so much money that even if they laid off 2,000 or 10,000 workers, they have so much money that they could at least give those workers 2 to 5 years of living expenses, so that until these workers can get on their feet or find a job. They don't have to lay these workers off. The interest alone on $1 billion, if they're putting $1 billion just in a regular 4%, they don't have to put it in a stock market, which I know a lot of them do, but if they just put it in a savings account, they're making $100 million to $200 million in interest on some of their money. Some of these CEOs and people of these not just the CEO, because the CEO is not the owner. The CEO is the person that represents the company and things like that. I'm talking about the owner of the company, whoever owns these companies, and then what they're paying these CEOs. They have enough money just in that alone to help these workers get through the hardest times of their life. And they don't do it. They just lay them off with families. And another thing that somebody brought up I think she worked at HR, she was saying she notices that companies will wait to the end of the year around Christmas or Thanksgiving and just start mass laying people off. It's already detrimental that you're laying people off. It's already hurtful. It's already painful. What is with you guys picking Christmas and Thanksgiving to kind of almost shoot someone in the heart? because you know that's the holiday time, and these people didn't see it coming. That's what she said. She said she noticed the companies she either worked, I don't know if it was, she was just saying the company she worked for at that moment, but she also noticed that with other companies as well, that they'll wait till around November and December and start laying people off, or right after the New Year's January, when they know a lot of people are coming out of the holiday. That's another thing with these holidays. Y'all got to be careful with these holidays. I don't like getting into it with people about these holidays, because I feel like to each his own. If you want to stay where you are, you don't want to change, then just stay where you are. Just don't make a TikTok talking about, you know, this company did this, I'm broke, I can't find a job. Don't make those TikToks, because I'm already giving you the warning now. These holidays, I feel like they are also affecting people's finances greatly, because, and I don't even know who invented some of these holidays. Like, there's just these holidays, y'all know all the major holidays, but they're coming every month almost. There's a holiday. They got you spending every month. You got birthdays, you got anniversaries, weddings to go to, quinceañeras, all this stuff. So you're like constantly spending your money. The thing is, when you're not affluent or super wealthy and you cannot, you know, quit your job or be fired without it having any repercussion to you, if hurting your finances or your family, if you're not at that point, you do not need to give these people your money. You don't need to spend any money. You have a little budget, you know, a little money for a little fun time and going out on vacation, you know, treating you and your family out. But you need to start looking at your history of how our parents and grandparents survived when there weren't, like, even if a woman wanted to go into the workforce back in the day, there weren't work for the women to go. That's why only men went to work. That's one of the reasons. A lot of people think it's because women didn't, there was like laws where women couldn't work. I mean, y'all need to go look that up. I told my brother-in-law this. He was like, no, it was. I was like, dude, where have you been? Yeah, there was a time women couldn't work. Like, I wasn't like, it was like women didn't go into the workforce because they couldn't work, but there also weren't any jobs. So the men had to take the jobs, because the jobs were for the men too. They didn't want the women in the workforce, number one, but also there weren't a lot of jobs. So the men needed jobs, like, you know, so there was a time when there was a high number of men out of work back in certain eras of our country. So, you know, you need to see how they survived, and they had fun. They weren't spending all their money. Like, it seems like if you look around, there's someone always trying to take your money. Like, somebody, there's all these things that's trying to take your money. Where if you look back, our family went to the beach, which is free. Bring a picnic basket. We went to the park. You know, we went to the zoo. Just things that are inexpensive. Now it's all this stuff out here, and you know, you could easily go somewhere and you're out of like $100. You're out of $200. You're out of $400. So I think I took my nieces and nephews, it was like 4 of them, to the movies, and I was out of almost $200 just for tickets and food. And you know, the movies are costing now $200. You know, of course we know Disneyland will set you back $5,000. I mean, you know, the amusement park set you back almost $5,000. You know, I'm sure you can find cheaper ways to get to Disney, but it's just, what I'm saying to you guys is y'all have to like kind of wake up and say, hey, I'm working hard, I'm sacrificing all my time with my family. We got to start making some changes, and bring your family in on this. If they're not in on this, you got a wife or a husband that's not in on this, say, hey babe, listen here, look at what's happening to these people out here. Yeah, we got great jobs right now, but we don't own these companies, and they can let one of us go anytime. We're gonna have to come up with a plan. We can't keep living like this, because we don't want this to happen to us, and then one day we can't find work. And then if we can't find work, that's going to put a strain on our relationship and our marriage. So I just want to wrap that up. Miss Diane's situation is really, really bad. That's how we got started on this. We started talking about Miss Diane. But a lot of people said, well, she should have saved some of the money. And we don't, the thing with her is we don't know how long she was making that $200,000. Because she probably didn't make $200,000 starting right out of college. I mean, she's 59 and a half, so 60 years old. So she probably started making that $200,000 later on in life, because most of the time you're not making that in the beginning of your career. So we don't know how many years she had she was making that $200K. But even if she was making $200K, she lives in New York City. New York City has rent prices between 2,500 to the lowest in a, I mean, I don't even think that's even in a great place. I think 3,000, started at 3,000 all the way up to about 6,000-7,000 a month to live in a decent area. And so she could be spending anywhere from 30 to 50 grand a year just on housing costs. And then she has food costs. She might have some children. Oh, well, she said she had a son, so she has a child. And then a government is going to want a lot of that money. So she may bring, you know, she might be in a 25% tax bracket. So the government may be taking about 40,000 from her, 50,000 from her. So she's really not left with so much money like people think just because you hear the number 200,000. But I'm not saying she couldn't have put away more. But we don't know how long she was given it, how long she was earning that salary, and how many years she had time to save. So we, you know, like I said, it doesn't matter. She's in a position now where she is making $16 an hour. She lost that good HR executive job. She doesn't know when another one's going to come back around. She's already been out of work for a year. Besides the bathroom attendant's $16 an hour job her son was able to help her find. So we don't want to end up like that. So you guys, make sure y'all are building some kind of plan for you and your family. I also opened up, I have the free webinar. You guys can check out, the link is on the page. You can check out the free webinars. Hopefully that will help you. And you guys could also book a mentorship call with me if you need help with planning your corporate escape. Have a plan in place. Start planning today, because we do not know what is about to happen with this world and this economy. And we want to have the option to be able to still live a pretty decent life just in case something happens to our jobs for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, until, because even if you, listen here, even if people are like, okay, if you got laid off from a job and those jobs, the factory closed down, those jobs no longer exist in America, go back to school. Well, if you're hungry, you're getting evicted, you're broke, you're not thinking about going back to college. You need money to go back to college. You need time to go back to college. You need a place to live, a place to shower, a place to lie your head down at night so you don't get robbed and raped, and you know, you have a safe, warm place during the winter and a nice, cool place during the summer. So even if you needed time to go back to school to get that certification to get into another field, you still need money in something to hold you over until you get that certification or that new degree, and then you got to go find a job. And remember, if you don't have experience, guess what happens? You have a harder time finding a job until someone's willing to take a risk on you. So people, please start planning your corporate escape. Start coming up with an escape plan. Reach out to me if you need mentorship and help with your escape plan. Like, don't sit here and wait and think that you're exempt from this and you're so special. I hear a lot of people that think they're so special. Over the years, I've heard people say, oh, you know, I don't need to do any kind of plan because, you know, I plan to work forever. Well, you plan to work forever, but that job don't plan on keeping you forever. So you guys better do something out here. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap this video up. Check out the next video. It has a lot of great information on it. I'm dropping videos weekly. Please make sure you like and subscribe to this channel so you can get more free content on what me and my clients are doing to you know, be able to leave corporate America and build out our escape plans, things like that. And also drop a comment below. Let me know how I can help you guys. I'm always happy to help. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Night, working in a catering hall and minimum wage and begging for tips, but this is only temporary, right? It's only temporary.
On paper, the jobs market appears strong, but it's getting harder for people out of work to find new jobs, especially those looking for high-paying, white-collar positions. Since the end of 2022, the number of people looking for work for more than 6 months is up by 45%. Right now, we're on our way into deep Brooklyn to meet with Diane Evans. She's 59 years old. She's been working in the HR industry for 35 years. But about a year ago, she was laid off from her job where she was making over $200,000 a year. And since then, she's only been able to find one job. That's working at a catering hall as a bathroom attendant. When you see the headlines, strong numbers, hundreds of thousands of jobs added, what do you think when you see that?
That's not the reality that I see. That's not what I'm living.
How would you compare this job market to all the other job market cycles that you've been through in your career?
I've never seen anything like this. They call it the white collar recession. So it's like middle management and that kind of level. I'm just not getting the traction that I think I should get based on the amount of work I'm putting in. It's crazy. I've applied to over 1,000 jobs in a year, which is crazy.
And what is your success rate out of those 1,000 jobs of getting a callback?
And I'm probably being generous here, but maybe one call to 25 applications, maybe more.
This is a lot of work. Like, how much time are you spending every day?
I start my day probably 7:30-ish in the morning. The first thing I do is go on LinkedIn. Over 100 people have already clicked apply, and they just posted it yesterday. People would say to me, why don't you get any job? You know, you're such a snob, you have to be a VP. I applied to Lowe's, Home Depot, Target, all kinds of stuff around
what happened
here.
with that?
Rejection letters. I got a rejection letter from Macy's, being a Spritzer person. I worked in Macy's when I was in college. Like, are you kidding me? My older son, his friend got me a job as a ladies' room attendant at a catering hall, a very high-end catering hall. But the first week or so was rough. I looked in the mirror and I cried.
How much are you making, like, an hour there at this job?
$16.50
$16.50.
compared to the $100 I used to make. If you figure out my salary, it was a little bit over $100 an hour. Macy's is
Oh, this is